I am Thomas, and I am in St. John's Cemetery in Queens to pay my respects to Joe Pepitone, called a flamboyant and once touted the next big thing New York Yankee. And there you see Joe Pepitone. He lived till he was 80 years old. And we're going to be visiting his grave. It's a family plot. His name has not been added into the gravestone, but he is buried here in St. John's. Joe Pepitone, an all-star and Gold Glove first baseman in the 1960s. He was touted as being the next big thing at one point, but was kind of known for his flamboyant personality, his hair pieces, and his love for the nightlife, which was all something that the Yankees, especially at that time, kind of frowned upon. Even now, the New York Yankees are kind of known for their no, strict policy with hair, strict policy with facial, any facial hair. I think it got a little bit loose, a little bit laxer now. I think you're able to have a mustache at this point with the Yankees, but before then, all that was frowned upon. Pepitone, lived out here in Massapequa, Long Island as well, but he passed away in Kansas City. Born in Brooklyn, he went to Manual Training High School, and he signed with the New York Yankees in 1958. Made his big league debut in 1962. He helped the Yankees to their second straight World Series title that year, a team at that point that was led by Mickey Mantle, Roger Maris, and Elston Howard. Talk about legends. But Pepitone, he drew attention often at time for his off-the-field conduct. How can I explain him? If you're familiar with Joe Namath here and the kind of cachet and the swagger that he was Joe Namath before you think Joe Namath came into the New York City metropolitan area. So Pepitone known for his off-the-field conduct in a time when most players were kind of on the Yankees and in baseball in general conformists. Pepitone was thought to be the first to bring a hairdryer into the clubhouse. Imagine that, all over a hairdryer. And artifact layer given to the baseball reliquary, and it's actually displayed at the Burbank Central Library in California in 2004. An exhibit. It was called "The Times Were a Changin'." A hairdryer. Joe Pepitone brought into the Yankee dugout. Wonder what George Steinbrenner would have thought. He also posed nude for a 1975 edition of Foxy Lady magazine. In an interview, he said things were a little different back then. Sure, Pepitone. He told the Rolling Stone in 2015, and this is direct quote. When I brought that hairdryer into the clubhouse, they thought I was a hairdresser or something. They didn't know what the hell was going on. I'd walk in with a black Nehru jacket on, beads, my hair slicked back. It was ridiculous. I think about it now and I laugh. Pepitone also apparently took to wearing hair pieces when his hair started to thin on top. So he'd be wearing hair pieces. And he would carry all kinds of equipment in a little blue Pan Am bag. Flamboyant. Here's the grave, the family grave of the Pepitone family, and this is where Joe Pepitone was buried. In a 1975 biography was entitled "Joe, You Could Have Made Us Proud." Pepitone, he detailed his nightlife with Frank Sinatra, smoking marijuana with Mickey Mantle and Whitey Ford, and Pepitone's time at Rikers Island, which is a local jail out here in New York, just outside of Astoria, Queens. Ugh, rough times. So he was flamboyant, kind of almost the story reminds me of Billy, well, just kind of doing his own thing, kind of beating to his own drummer, or his own drum. That's better. George Steinbrenner, he brought Pepitone back as a minor league hitting instructor in 1980. He promoted him to the big league team 2 years later. Pepitone said he would even trim his wigs to comply with the Yankees' grooming policy. This one, he told the New York Times, holding one wig, that's my gainer. It's got gray in it. The longer one is my going outer. So he had toupee, he had wigs, a character. So he was in jail on Rikers Island for about 4 months when he had two misdemeanor drug convictions. But at that point, he was then rehired by Yankees to work with minor leaguers. He was arrested in 92 for a brawl that started when a man called him a washed up nobody. So, there was another little scrap up there as well. So, Pepitone, when he came up with the Yankees, he joined the Yankees at a high point in the team's history, right? After winning the 1962 title, New York went on to take the American League pennants the following 2 years, only to kind of lose in this series. And Pepitone became a All-Star 3 consecutive years starting in 1963. He stayed with the Yankees through their decline. And, that's kind of the point where they hit their decline after that, after those pennants. He was eventually traded to Houston after the 1969 season. Never really, I guess, lived up to the hype that a lot of people kind of would compare him to. But that's not fair. Each person is, has different qualities. It's a lot of pressure. Playing in New York is just a lot of pressure altogether. Got traded. At that point, he also traded to Houston. He went on to play for the Chicago Cubs, where he would say that, if I'm not mistaken, that people will leave marijuana for him in the ivory, and that he'd be looking in the ivory for the marijuana, or something to that effect in regards to the outfield there in Chicago. Played there from 70 to 73. He's finished his career with Atlanta and the Adams of Japan Central League in 73. He hit 258, 219 home runs, and 721 RBIs for his career. Just a lot of, I just want to kind of he passed away recently. When I made this video, when I went through to visit to pay my respects for Joe Pepitone, this is a couple months ago. The name might be on the stone at this point, but just wanted to go cover, pay my respects to Joe and Pepitone. Just a lot of memorable Yankees with a lot of character. And I think George Steinbrenner would put up with all these type of characters that he had, as long as these guys would produce and win. So that's all that George Steinbrenner really cared, is about winning. Now I know this is a little bit. Pepitone was a little bit before Steinbrenner's time, but in regards to when Pepitone was a coach, I'm sure he wanted results from Pepitone to help his players. So, but that was George Steinbrenner in general. Just he would put up with any type of character as long as it would lead to results and winning. Now the state of the Yankees with their owners is a little bit different. But nonetheless, the grave, Joe Pepitone.